Welcome back to BreslovCampus. Insights in the parsha of the week, Parshat Vayigash. We see in this week's Parshat Vayigash, and also last week, this very weird, very strange encounter and behavior of Yosef towards his brothers. It would make much more sense if Yosef would have openly just revealed himself to his brothers and to rebuke them. And I'm Yosef that you sold me and everything, and look what has come to me. And they would feel a type of a shame and embarrassment from the beginning. Why Yosef's whole ploy, playing this game with his brothers and all types of concealment and everything in such a funny way until it led to his revealing. And also to make them feel a lot of charata, a lot of regret for selling Yosef and everything. So the answer is specifically this, that Yosef wanted to give them a gift. He wanted to give the gift, but in a format there would be no accusations against it. So Rebbe Nachman explains that tzaddikim, many times, they begin to oppose a person. They begin to, if you want to say, embarrass and have conflict against the person. And they're not doing it, God forbid, because they actually hate the person, but rather they're doing it because the only way to give this person a gift if it's done secretly. He compares Rabbi Nachman just like charity, tzedakah. There's many levels of tzedakah. One of the highest levels, it's the third level, but the third highest level is that when the giver knows who the recipient is, but the recipient doesn't know who's the giver. So he says, Rabbi Nachman, so too, tzaddikim, they want to give something very good to a person. They want to help a person, whether it's to mitigate harsh judgments off a person, to get all types of dinim, what's called amtakat dinim, mitigating harsh judgments off a person, whether it's to elevate a person. So these are things which can't be done openly, because always the evil side is always laying in wait to ruin anything that comes out in the open. Like always they say in Judaism, if you want to do something good, don't talk about it. Keep it as best as possible quiet, because if you start revealing and talking about your plans, the Yetzer Hara does all types of things to ruin it. Bracha, blessing, all is best when something is covered up and hidden and not out in the open. So too the tzaddikim, they want to help a person, so they disguise it in such a format, and this is the only way they can disguise it, if it comes in the format of embarrassment, a person feels embarrassed with the situation, or conflict and strife. So now Yosef Tzaddik wanted to give a blessing of permanence. Yosef foresaw that the Jewish people coming down to Egypt is going to be a major turning point, a major event which will determine the whole future of the entire Jewish nation. Leaving Egypt, and then from there coming to Har Sinai to receive the Torah, and from there prepared coming to Eretz Yisrael, the Holy Land, is something which is fundamental for all of us. We're all based on this idea of leaving the holiness of Eretz Yisrael, going into exile, and then built up with the holiness collected from that impurity and darkness of being in exile, and coming back with that, elevating it. Because that's a goal in life. And goal in life is that we're sent in this world as a mission to recollect what's called holy sparks, which are trapped in this world, in the realm of evil. That's why we're in this world doing mitzvot and good deeds and Torah study and prayer. We collect all the good from the exile and bring it back to holiness when we do tshuva and when we work on coming close. Yosef knew this. He wanted to make sure that the Jews would have a solid existence while in Egypt and not become totally destroyed. So the only way to have the blessing that Jacob and the 70 souls that came down to Egypt should have a permanency in strength, not an endurance, not to fall into the trap of exile, and then to flourish, to come out, he had to disguise it in this format of making them feel bad, of strife. Yosef is saying, who are you? You guys are spies. Bring down Binyamin. And in this week's parsha, we're now Vayigash elav Yehuda, that Yehuda now is ready to attack. He's ready to now fight. And this is the test. In these scenarios given by tzaddikim, the test of the recipient is this a real strife, or I should not believe what my eyes see? Should I see past this image that this tzaddik is opposing me? And so I say, this can't be true. There must be something real good behind all this. And I'm not going to fall into the trap of believing that what I see is the real reality. That was the test that Yosef tzaddik was doing. It was meant in a way to make him appear as an enemy, a foe, someone that he's now out to get them. And he played all these games, and in the meanwhile, they began to regret and feel bad of selling Yosef, not knowing that they're talking to Yosef. But their test, are they going to go into the trap of battle? So thank God, Yehuda was smart enough. Vayigash, he first approached Hashem with prayer, and then he spoke to Yosef. And he was ready after that, if now Yosef will not accept his words, to fight him, as the Midrash brings down. And yet, Yehuda was wise enough to know to talk and present. And once Yosef saw that everything's in place, Binyamin is here, all the 12 tribes are together now in Egypt, and they passed the test properly. They didn't just break out in war, but rather they accepted. So this led to the point where Yosef now can reveal to them, and it's all just a test. He was just testing them, and they earned the blessings that came through this test. They endured the shame and the conflict, interpreting it properly, which is reflected in what we saw in last week's parsha, and also in this week's parsha, that they regretted. He heard Yosef, he overheard his brother saying, "Oh, this is happening to us because we sold him and we didn't pay attention to the suffering it would cause to our father Yaakov." And in this week's parsha, also the shame they had when Yosef showed them that he's Yosef, and he spoke in the holy tongue, and he showed them that he was circumcised as a Jew. So the shame they had was a positive shame that led him to get all the benefits. And this is what Rabbi Nachman teaches is the underlying purpose of conflict from tzaddikim, and we should not get turned off when we feel seemingly that we have opposition from the tzaddikim themselves, that we're trying to follow their teachings, to come closer to Hashem, to their teachings, and it would make sense that they would bring us close. Instead, they begin to oppose a person, making it difficult and hard to remember that it's a test. And we must pass this test by not falling into believing that this must be the reality.